David Bushnell, the man who started underwater warfare. David Bushnell was an inventor who demonstrated his talent during the American Revolutionary War. He is considered the designer of the first submarine ever used for military purposes. The Turtle, the boat's name, made no significant contribution to the conflict, but became the forerunner of an entire branch of the armed forces. The principle of filling ballast tanks with water and propelling them in a propeller-like motion is still used in modern submarines. Today, the Turtle looks ridiculous and is certainly unsafe for the operator. However, even such a device couldn't have been created overnight. We'll discuss Bushnell's life and the many inventions that laid the foundations of submarine warfare. A good student, when deadlines for your thesis approach, one thing means one thing: many sleepless nights. Research materials online, or as was previously the case, in the library. Of course, students prefer simpler topics, and no one wants to sign up for an impossible project. David Bushnell took on just such a task. While studying at the prestigious Yale University, the young man demonstrated a passion for invention and discovery. According to surviving documents, he excelled in mathematics, physics, mathematics, and philosophy. However, his greatest achievement was his experiments with gunpowder. At the time, it was believed that it was impossible to detonate powder underwater. It would be like lighting a match or starting a fire in the sea. Bushnell drew ideas from European textbooks and achieved results. The initial publication involved detonating 50 grams of powder. A few days later, the charge's power increased tenfold, and now, instead of smiles, the faces of the commission members were filled with a silent question: how can this be applied? Attack on the barrels if water doesn't interfere with gunpowder. Wonder how to deliver it to enemy ships. Ordinary barrels are suitable for this task. They have sufficient capacity, and most importantly, they can float. However, Bushnell added a spring mechanism to the lantern, which ensured that it would not collide with the enemy. Thus, the first naval mines were born. Gifts for the British were launched into the Delaware River, after which they spent over a month approaching the enemy fleet occupying Philadelphia. Due to the large amount of ice in the harbor, minutes accumulated in one spot. Several detonations destroyed a couple of small boats, but left a lasting impression on the redcoats. The barrels were defeated by the return fire. This event is commemorated in the 1778 soldiers' ballad, The Battle of the Kegs. The next generation of mines would be much more powerful. The wooden structures, almost a meter long, weigh 68 kilograms. It was obvious that the battery charge would inevitably kill the detonator. Bushnell realized he needed the help of experienced watchmakers. Thus, the flintlock mechanism was born almost identical to those in muskets, but activated remotely, or rather, in advance. Attach the mine to the hull of the other hull, set the timer, and quickly get out of the way. The Los Angeles Uprising, 5 days that changed nothing. The combat turtle. The design received its name from its appearance, consisting of 2 turtle shells facing each other. Oak logs, fastened with iron, were used in the construction process. The apparatus was propelled by a hand-operated propeller. The boat could move in various directions and submerge briefly. The success of these solutions was achieved through stealth and surprise. Never before had this example been used in the discussion of these issues. Despite the obvious danger of the upcoming operation, we still had many volunteers willing to become the first submarine saboteurs. All that remained was to conduct the briefing and select a location and target for the operation. It is worth noting that David Bushnell personally oversaw the Turtle test, but did not participate in the combat operation. Ezra Lee was the first operator, and he was given the ambitious task of attacking and, ideally, sinking the flagship of the British Expeditionary Force, HMS Eagle. Difficulties arose immediately instead of the planned 20–30 minutes. Ezra took over 2 hours to reach his target, exhausted to the point of simply not being able to attach the mine to the ship's side. He was forced to abandon the deadly payload and retreat. The next phase of the Turtle operation took place a month later. During this time, the operator and the ground navigation team, who were to adjust their actions using signal lights, were trained. The submarine was being towed down the Hudson River, but a British patrol suddenly appeared. In just a few minutes, gunfire destroyed the barge and the Turtle. Sapper and miner corpse during the US Army's retreat from Connecticut, the inventor was captured. The British immediately learned of David and placed him under heavy guard without torture. He would soon be exchanged for a number of high-ranking British officers and noble loyalists from the local population. On June 8, 1781, by decree of George Washington, a corps of sappers and miners was formed. This is the prototype of the modern commando unit that David Bushnell commanded until the end of the war. After the victory, he returned to his native Connecticut, where he taught practical medicine at the academy until his old age. David Bushnell did not make a significant contribution to the victory, but he anticipated the shape of future naval warfare. Today, a model of the submarine turtle is in Groton. The original was irretrievably lost.